My first week in Guatemala wasn't just excitement or freedom. There was a moment where I genuinely felt like I'd made a big mistake and that I wanted to go home. And I think that moment is actually the most important part of making any big life change. So initially when I flew to Guatemala, I was so excited, and especially when I arrived, I just couldn't believe that I'd actually done this. Like, I was halfway across the world. I was like living the dream that I had sort of thought for myself. And when I checked into the Airbnb, I was on cloud nine, right? And for the first 3 days, I was enjoying being a solo traveler, right? No one knows you, no one has any expectations of you, and nobody has any previously held beliefs about how you should behave, unlike back home where you have your existing friends. And because you're a solo traveler, you can control what you do that day completely. Every day I'd wake up, I'd watch the sunrise, and I'd see the volcanoes, and I felt like I was living the dream. And that was in Antigua, which is a city in Guatemala. But then I left Antigua to go to another city, and I was leaving the familiar place that I had been staying at and the comfort that I had gained despite being in a completely different country, right? I was alone in Guatemala City, right? And it's quite a dangerous city in some regards, like people were telling me. And I was taking a solo bus ride. Not only was I halfway across the world, but I was also taking a solo bus ride across this country where I don't even know the language, surrounded by people who I can't talk to, easily at least. And we were stopping in the middle of nowhere at these restaurants, which, needless to say, looked quite dodgy. And obviously I was the only white guy for miles. So yeah, suddenly I'd been taken out of this comfort zone, despite being in another country, this comfort zone. And now I was really in sort of the middle of nowhere. And on the bus, I had a sudden urge to go home. I was thinking, like, why am I doing this? Why am I here? This was a mistake. I should go back. And I was essentially spiraling on that bus, and I was about to crash out. I was crashing out simply just because of emotional reasons. But on that coach, as I was crashing out, I realized that nothing was actually wrong. Like, not much had changed from how I was feeling in the previous days. There was necessarily no threat. I wasn't actually in danger, realistically. But I think what it was the realization that I'd made a huge life change, and it had only just set in. I was tired. I barely slept that night. I woke up at like 3 a.m, went to sleep at like 12. I was starving. I hadn't ate all day because I didn't want to eat the street food. And I was in an uncomfortable bus. And the realization when you make a massive change only really sets in when you're at your weakest. And that was at my weakest in terms of even physiologically and mentally. But realizing that, firstly, why this was happening because of this massive change, but secondly, that it was emphasized, or it was increased. The pain was increased because of me being hungry, tired. It actually ended up helping. It didn't make the feelings go away. You know, I still felt like shit, but I knew that these feelings would eventually fade when I got to where I wanted and when I started to eat, right? And they did fade. I ate. Once I arrived, I showered, I drank some coffee, and things suddenly started to feel a lot better. And even now, like, I've started to get back into my routine with work, and I've returned to a baseline level of comfort. And especially, you know, I'm in such a beautiful, you know, little town here. It certainly helped. So I've started to feel not 100% better. Obviously, there's still some level of discomfort and, you know, realization like, oh crap, like, I'm halfway across the world. Not only am I halfway across the world, but then I'm like a 6-hour drive in the middle of nowhere. So I still don't feel 100%, but I feel like, okay, I can do this, right? And just in terms of like a broader reflection, in terms of lessons you can take home, with any life change, with any massive life change, whether that be work or anything like that, you don't realize these emotions and these feelings. They don't hit you until that change occurs. Especially, they'll hit you when you're at your weakest, right? And again, it won't feel real until you're in the midst of it. Before, it won't feel real, but when you're in the midst of it, all the emotions, everything you've been ignoring will come to terms. And I'm glad I didn't mistake discomfort for danger, because that seems to be where most people turn back.